Thanks for tuning in to the Urban School Podcast. I'm back with more NCAA women's basketball news, exciting transfer. Now, Coach Staley said after the finals loss to UConn in the championship game, she's excited for what her team looks like next year. And now we know some of what that means of next year. So not only did Malaysia Fulwiley enter the NCAA portal, the transfer portal, but Tanaya Lathan has transferred to South Carolina. Now, the junior guard, Tanaya Latson, has transferred to South Carolina from Florida State. Now, she spent all 3 years at Florida State and has averaged over 20 points a game every year. And she led the NCAA scoring last year with 25 points a game. So this is a great move for both parties. And I'll break down why, but this is a phenomenal move, especially for Coach Staley and her legacy and continuing replenishing that cupboard that she's trying to build. Just creating that cycle of players, especially with the market today of the transfer portal, the difficulties it brings. But for South Carolina, they get a bona fide scorer. They get more complexity to their offense because last year they did have Malaysia for a while. They did have Tahina Pow. They did have Chloe Kitts and others but they did it by committee. But now in the game, you need more of a star, a solidified star, somebody who you can go to get a quick basket from, somebody who you can rely on in clutch time that you can say, oh, they'll get to this free throw line and get some points, or they'll get some kind of jump shot off. They'll get some way. They'll figure it out. They really didn't have that. They were mixing and matching the whole year. Say who's going to take the shot? Is it going to be Pow? Is it going to be, Malaysia Fulwiley, who was coming off the bench? Is it going to be Joyce Edwards? Now they have a true bona fide number one scorer that can give them 25 to 30 points on any given night, who's an elite scorer, in fact, in that way. And they definitely missed the presence of Asia Wilson or Camila Cardoso last year. They have Joyce Edwards, who's still growing. I believe she's the second best center in the NCAA now, only behind Sarah Strong at UConn. So it would only get better from here, but they still lack use. But that Tanaya Latson move will definitely help them. Now for Tanaya, it gives her the media presence on the exposure from playing at South Carolina alongside Coach Don Staley. Now, in Florida State, she was under the radar a little bit, playing under that program. That's mostly a football school, but she was playing there for 3 years. But now she gets that exposure and that jump that she needs going into the WNBA draft. So I believe this raises her draft stock. Also, it increases her NIL deals that she can possibly receive, possibly get on commercials with Don Staley or maybe even her own commercials. And then also you get to play in a premier program in the SEC in a division, well, in the conference that's US SEC, and you'll be able to get that exposure and that experience of playing WNBA level talent every conference play game. Now FSU does lose their elite scorer, and then they're pretty much gonna have to figure a way to replace a 25-point per game score, which is going to be very difficult. But Florida State is one of those elite programs. Probably not on the basketball end, but I believe they'll be able to replace it somehow. But you can't really replace that all the way. But maybe this move will get Coach Staley another shot at the title again. She fell short this year, very short, just because UConn had that elite score in Paige Beckers, and they had a dominant force around her, and they also had that elite score like that Coach Staley has now in Tanaya Latson. But Coach Staley only needs one more title to tie Kim Mulkey at LSU, and then she needs 4 to tie the great Pat Summitt. So she has a little ways to go. And Coach Gino Auriemma is still going. He has 12. So it's a while if you can get that. But Coach Staley's still young. She can still, she's still on the trajectory to get that. So, but she has built that infrastructure and reputation to keep the cycle of players coming through. And she's very trusted in circles as far as coaching and knowing what she's doing. Malaysia Fulwiley leaving, I believe it was just due to mostly Fulwiley being young and, Coach Staley not having much patience for her as she probably wanted her to have. But I think both parties will figure it out and learn from this situation and be able to, grow from it. I don't think it was a bitter relationship or anything. I think it was just mostly just being young, both of them, and coaching and being young as a player. Just taking heed to what Coach Staley was saying, but Coach Staley also had to be a little bit more patient with her as she's young and she's very, emotional at that age. So it's going to take some time for her to develop. But nevertheless, I'll keep an eye on this story and moves throughout the offseason for the NCAA women's basketball. As always, until next time, I'll see you next time.